Today's lesson is a new AI-powered speech-to-speech translation system. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And my name is Helen.
And, of course, in today's program, we're continuing to teach you English. We're trying to help you with your listening comprehension ability, but that may not be necessary in the future if AI-powered speech-to-speech translation systems have their say. In other words, we may not need people to study languages. We can just use this little machine and we talk into it and it will translate what we say into another language so that we can have a communication, we can have a conversation with somebody without actually speaking each other's language.
That'll be interesting. That means I can stay home longer and not come into the office and record.
Well, you won't get paid that way. But in any case, this is what's coming on the horizon. But of course, it's easier said than done. That does sound kind of ideal that you could do that. It certainly would solve a lot of communication problems. But yes, indeed, let's find out all about what this is all about. It's all about AI-powered speech-to-speech translation systems. So let's get to it. Let's listen to the first part, and then we'll come back to talk about it.
A new AI-powered speech-to-speech translation system. AI-powered speech translation is nothing new. The standard method is to record speech, convert it to text, translate that text to another language, and convert it back to speech. However, this method has obvious limitations when we note that about 3,000 languages in the world exist only in oral form. To address this issue, Meta, Facebook's parent company, is working on a new open-source system that can translate speech from one language to another in real time.
大家好，标题中我们可以看到单字 translation， 它是名词，指的是翻译或是译文。例如The Chinese translation of this book isn't as good as the original. 这本书的中文译本不如原作好。或者 The poor English translation of the menu led to many problems for the restaurant. 这本菜单中拙劣的英文翻译给这间餐厅带来不少麻烦。另外补充这个字的动词 translate, T-R-A-N-S-L-A-T-E, translate, 意思是翻译。像是This book was first written in Spanish and later translated into English. 这本书原本是用西班牙文写的，后来被翻译成英文。或是 Oftentimes, humor doesn't translate well into other languages. 幽默常常无法妥善地翻译成另外一种语言。接下来我们看到动词 convert， 它的意思是使改变、转换或是改造。举例来说The record label converted several old analog recordings to digital. 那家唱片公司把好几张类比录音老唱片数位化。又或者说 Samantha converted from a vegetarian lifestyle to a meat-eating one in a matter of weeks. Samantha 在几个星期的时间内就从吃素的生活形态转换成荤食的了。
So the topic of today's lesson is a new AI-powered translation system. The word translation simply means the process of changing words, spoken words or written words, into a different language. So that could refer to the process. You could say that a machine does translation from one language to another, or it could refer to the words that have been changed into another language. For instance, I could ask someone, did you read the book in English? And that person might reply, no, I read the Chinese translation.
Or my cousin Vinny is fluent in Italian and Mandarin, so he works in translation. He translates Italian into Chinese and vice versa. So you can work in translation if you're a master at languages. And yes, indeed, this is all about speech-to-speech translation. Let's find out what this is all about. We're talking about artificial intelligence, or AI. So AI-powered speech translation is nothing new. It's been around for a while. We all know what it is. At least we're aware of this concept, and we certainly would like to see it become more widespread. Again, as I said earlier, it might solve some communication problems.
Right, and the word powered, it's being used as a verb. So to power something means to give something, such as a machine or a vehicle, power. A machine could be water-powered, which means it runs with water, or it could be gas-powered, which means it runs with gas. Here, this speech translation system is AI-powered, which means it uses AI or artificial intelligence to function.
Exactly. So it's nothing new. It's been around for a while. We're all familiar with it. And the standard method is to record speech, convert it to text, translate that text to another language, and convert it back to speech. That sounds kind of long and complicated, but that's the standard method. That's the standard way that it has been done up till now. What you do is you record speech. So you speak some sentence or something 7 years ago. Our fathers brought onto this continent a new nation, and then you translate that text to another language, and then you convert that back to speech. So supposedly that will come out in another language based on the first sentence that you actually said. You transcribed it, you translated it, and then it was spoken again.
Right, and here the word convert means to change from one system to another. A common way of using the word convert is in the area of money. Sometimes when you travel, you have to convert one currency to another. You might convert Taiwanese dollars to euros if you're traveling to Europe. And when talking about the traditional AI-powered speech translation, we realize that it refers to a process that has 4 stages. So first you talk into a microphone, you record what you say, and what you say is turned into written words, and those written words are turned into the written words in another language, and those written words in turn are changed back into speech in another language.
Sounds easy enough, although it does sound time-consuming. However, this method has obvious limitations when we note that about 3,000 languages in the world exist only in oral form. Oral just means spoken. We do use the word oral when we talk about exams, for example. When you're studying English, of course, you might take a written exam, and then later on you may take an oral exam when somebody actually asks you questions and you have to respond with speech. But indeed, there are lots of languages that don't have writing systems. People have told me this about Taiwanese, too. There's no way to really write Taiwanese.
Yes, and the word oral here, of course, refers to spoken words and not written ones, but it also refers to the mouth. You can talk about oral hygiene, for instance, which is the process of keeping your mouth healthy and clean through brushing and flossing and other ways to keep your mouth clean. But of course, oral here is being used to refer to languages.
Exactly. Now, to address this issue, or to deal with this issue, with this problem, Meta, Facebook's parent company, is working on a new open source system that can translate speech from one language to another in real time. So in real time just means happening right away. You don't have to wait. There's no big delay. Or at least there's not much of a delay. So that's what Meta is working on. It's an open source system in which lots of people can contribute, and they want to translate speech from one language to another in real time so that you don't have to rely on interpreters or on translators. You can just use some kind of algorithm or some kind of computer device.
Yes, and when something is open source, it just means that it's made available to everyone. An open source system isn't kept secret. It's published and anyone can add to it, take from it, use it, and so on.
Sounds very encouraging. So let's move on now and talk about this some more. In the next part, we'll listen.
So far, the system is only able to provide rough translations between English and Hokkien, a Chinese dialect that does not have a standard written form. It integrates several approaches to perform this task, including translating speech as acoustic input and then generating waveforms from it, and training AI models by using Mandarin text as an intermediary between English and Hokkien. Currently, the system can translate only one sentence at a time. According to Meta, however, this is just the first step toward making real-time translation between languages a reality in the future.
第二部分我们看到动词 integrate 指的是使融合、融入、使合并或是使成为一体。例如 The company integrated free childcare into its employee benefits package. 该公司把免费托育服务并入员工福利方案。又或者是 One of the original purposes of the EU was to integrate Western Europe's economies. 欧盟最初的目的之一是要整合西欧的经济体。接着，我们看到单字 generate， 它是动词，意思是产生、造成或是引起。举例来说 The marketing campaign generated interest in the company's newest product line. 这场行销活动让人们对该公司的最新产品系列感兴趣。又或者是 Andrew's new stock trading app generated almost $1 million in its first month. Andrew 的股票交易应用程式在上架的第一个月就带来近100万美元的收益。
So far, the system is only able to provide rough translations between English and Hokkien, a Chinese dialect that does not have a standard written form. So this new translation system that is AI-powered promises to do translations in real time. So there is no gap in which speech is converted to text and then reconverted back to speech. And this system has worked so far, but only between two languages. One is English and the other is Hokkien, which is considered not so much a language as much as a dialect. A dialect is a way of speaking a particular language that's used in a particular area or by a group of people. So a dialect in a way is more restricted than a language. When we think about language, we think of it as being spoken by more people, and a dialect as being spoken by fewer people.
Indeed. So, of course, we're talking about Hokkien. That's a Chinese dialect, along with Oji Shanghai Hua and Guangdong Hua. Those are all different dialects of Chinese. And this particular dialect, Hokkien, does not have a standard written form. Some people write things in some ways, some write them in different ways, so there's no central standard on how to write down Hokkien. It integrates several approaches to perform this task, including translating speech as acoustic input and then generating waveforms from it, and training AI models by using Mandarin text as an intermediary between English and Hokkien. My goodness, that is quite complicated there. Let's break this sentence down into smaller parts here. First of all, we've got the verb to integrate, which means lots of things work together inside a system. So it has different approaches that are used at the same time. They're integrated. They perform this task at the same time. We could say that some schools are integrated, not just one particular people from a certain race go there, but other people go there as well. So it's mixed, it's integrated, or the neighborhood is integrated. We have different people living together. And in this particular case, several approaches or different techniques are used to perform this task. They're used at the same time.
Right. You can also use integrate to mean to connect or combine different things, two or more things, so that they work together as an effective system. I could say, for instance, that an English course that integrates grammar lessons and conversation tends to be more effective at teaching English. So if you only focus on grammar or if you only focus on conversation, it might not be as effective. And this particular system integrates several approaches to perform the task of translation. And one approach is to translate speech as acoustic input and then generating waveforms from it. Now, acoustic is a word that means relating to sound. You could talk about the acoustic quality of a particular room. If a room has good acoustic quality, it means that the sound travels very well in that room. You might hear echoes and the sound that you make might come out really loudly. So acoustic is anything that's related to sound. And this particular system translates speech as acoustic input. So it doesn't translate the speech as words, as written text, but rather as sounds. And then this sound is used to generate waveforms. To generate means to produce. Now, there are software and apps that can generate many things. As an example, you can use an app to generate funny pictures from the pictures that you upload to those apps. And what's being generated here are waveforms. A waveform is a representation of the pattern of sound.
Right, so if you're using some kind of recording software like we're actually using to record this program, on the screen you will see the waveform. So you say something into the microphone like, I tell you, okay, that's what you say in English, and then that is converted into a waveform, and then we train AI models by using Mandarin text as an intermediary between English and Hokkien. Okay, so intermediary just means somebody between something and something else. We could say a real estate agent acts as an intermediary between buyers and sellers of property.
Currently, this system can translate only one sentence at a time. So if you speak too quickly or if you're speaking a whole body of text, then the system might not be able to translate what you're saying. According to Meta, however, this is just the first step toward making real-time translation between languages a reality in the future. So according to the company that came up with this new system, what they have done so far is just the first step toward translations that can be done in real time. And this type of translation can become a reality in the future. Right now, it's just at the starting stage, and they're not absolutely sure that it's going to work. But if it works, then it can become a reality in the future.
Okay, so we'll watch how it progresses in the future. And it's time now to wrap things up by listening to the final paragraph.
Meta hopes its system can be used to facilitate communication in both the real world and the metaverse. By breaking down language barriers, such AI technology will hopefully lead to greater understanding and collaboration among speakers of different languages.
第三部分我们看到名词 barrier， 它指的是障碍、阻碍、隔阂或是屏障。像是 Not being able to speak Japanese was a barrier for Alice when she applied for the job. 不会说日语在 Alice 应征那份工作时是个障碍。又或者是 A lack of self-confidence can be a barrier to success. 缺乏自信可能会是成功的障碍。最后我们看到单字 collaboration， 它是名词，意思是合作。举例来说 This report is a collaboration involving two different writers. 这个报告涉及了两位不同作者的合作。或是 After the failure of their first collaboration, the artists never worked together again. 首次合作失败后，这些艺术家未曾再共事过。另外补充这个字的动词 collaborate, C-O-L-L-A-B-O-R-A-T-E, collaborate, 它指的是合作或是协作。我们可以说 Scientists from Belgium collaborated with those from Taiwan in this study. 来自比利时的科学家与台湾的科学家在这项研究中合作。也可以说 The two famous rappers are collaborating on a new album. 那两位知名饶舌歌手正在合作一张新专辑。
Now, why did Meta come up with this system for translating speech? Well, Meta hopes its system can be used to facilitate communication in both the real world and the metaverse. So when you facilitate something, you're making it easier for that thing to happen, or you're making it possible for it to happen. You can use machines to facilitate certain types of work, to make that type of work easier. And in this case, Meta wants to allow people to communicate more easily in the real world. That's the world that we live in and interact with each other in, as well as the metaverse. So the metaverse refers to that 3D virtual world where people can experience daily life. They can go shopping, go to concerts, travel, and socialize with friends using online 3D representations of themselves and of their world.
Exactly. So that's what the system hopes to do, to facilitate communication, to make communication easier in both the real and the metaverse in the cyber world, I suppose we could say. And by breaking down language barriers, such AI technology will hopefully lead to greater understanding and collaboration among speakers of different languages. So, of course, we want to break down those language barriers. A barrier is something that gets in the way. It's between you and something else. Sometimes if you're going down the highway, there may be a barrier at the side of the road to protect pedestrians from cars straying into the sidewalk area and running over pedestrians. So there's a barrier there, something that blocks traffic. And here we're talking about an obstacle in communication. Lots of times, of course, we have misunderstandings based on language. People don't speak the same language, so those are language barriers. And we want to break them down. We want to facilitate communication between different people who speak different languages.
Yes, and such AI technology will hopefully lead to greater understanding and collaboration among speakers of different languages. So this type of system hopes to not only break down barriers, allowing people to communicate with each other, but it also hopes to create more collaboration among speakers. So collaboration refers to the process of people working together. Collaborating or cooperating is another way to say to collaborate, when they're working on a particular project together and they're hoping for the same result.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Here comes our Chinese teacher, Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文一开始写到，运用人工智慧的语音翻译，标准做法是录制语音，将它转换成文本，把这个文本翻译成另一种语言，再把它转换回语音。好，文中它用到动词 convert 来表达转换。那我们来学它的字首字根。好，我们看到 VERS或者是 VERT 这两个字根有转动啊、翻转或者是变动的意思。那带有这一类字根的字大多含有改变原状的语义。好，那么在 convert 这个字当中，它的字首 CON 表示 together 就是一起，字根 VERT 这个部分表示转 turn。 那全部一起翻转，全部一起转，我们可以联想到 convert 它就有转换啊、改变的意思。好，我们顺便补充两个有这一类字根的单字。第一个是 invert INVERT， 它的字首 IN 表示在什么之中，在什么之上，那么字根 VERT 表示翻转。当我们把东西内外翻转或是上下翻转，它就会变成是反向的啊，或者是上下颠倒的。那么 invert 这个动词就表示使反向、使颠倒。好，第二个补充的是 divert DIVERT， 它的字首 DI 有分离或是从什么什么的意思，那么字根 VERT 表示转。当某事物转移到旁边，或者是当注意力离开了原本事物，我们用这样的方式也许可以联想到 divert 它有使转向、使转移、使分心的意思。那这个单字有时候也可以念作 divert。 好，再来课文第三部分最后一句提到，这种人工智慧技术有望促进不同语言使用者之间有更多的理解与合作。文中它是用名词 collaboration 来表达合作，那它的动词是 collaborate。我们也来学它的字首字根。好，首先看到 labor 这个字它有工作啊、劳动、劳工或是劳力的意思。那带有这个字根的字多半含有劳动、劳力的语义。好，在 collaborate 这个字当中，它的字首 COL 就是来自 COM， 只是因为碰到 L 开头的字根，所以才拼成 COL。好，那么它这个字首呢，就表示一起。好 labor 呢，则表示工作， ATE 是动词字尾，一起工作那就表示合作咯，所以 collaborate 就有一起合作啊、共同合作的意思。我们也来补充两个有相同字根的单字。第一个是 elaborate， 它的字首 E 来自 EX， 表示彻底、完全，做强调用。那么字根 labor 表示劳动。 再来 ate 它可以是动词字尾或是形容词字尾。当我们做事情呢做得很彻底，应该可以联想到 elaborate， 它有精心制作的意思。它当动词就可以表达像精心制作啊，详细说明。那么当形容词会念作 elaborate， 这时候它是形容精心计划的、精雕细琢的或是复杂的、繁复的。好，再来看到第二补充是 laborious， 它是在字根 labor 表示劳动，后面再加上 ious。 好，那这个 ous 这个部分其实就是形容词字尾。同学们可以试着联想说，某件事情它是需要劳动的，那就表示它是费力的，是吃力的。 laborious 就是用来形容是费劲的、吃力的意思。好，以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Translation. Some of the novel's playful humor gets lost in translation. Convert. Jeb converted his pants into shorts by cutting each leg off above the knee. Dialect. Non-native speakers of English can find some regional dialects difficult to understand. Integrate. The composer integrates both classical and modern styles in his pieces. Generate. The drums generated a noise that gave Alfred a headache. Facilitate. The extra practice with her tutor facilitated Alyssa's ability to master Spanish. Barrier. The anger the two political parties have toward one another is a major barrier to passing new laws. Collaboration. The new film is the result of a collaboration between two major directors.
Discussion Starter starts now!
Here's our discussion starter for today. The question is, do you think a truly effective system for translating across all human languages will be available in 10 years? Why or why not?
I don't think that such a system or such a translation system will be available in 10 years. I think it will take longer than that, considering that languages are always evolving. So if you want a translation system to translate language in a way that sounds natural, it'll take longer than that.
Well, I'm optimistic. I think that such a translation system will be available in 10 years in light of the fact that technology improves by leaps and bounds all the time. Computers are getting faster and faster. We've got more and more people working on these issues, and eventually learning other languages will be unnecessary. We'll just simply talk into a little device held in our hand, and it will spit out what we just said in another language.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoy reading along with us. I am Helen.
I am Roger.
See you next time.